you guys ready for episode 10 of Happy Hour? We are going to be talking about longevity and how to make your health journey last. I have my old lovely roommate, Macie Crumb, joining today. I'm so happy. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. Are you there yet?
Hey!
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
It's so funny that it's like 8 a.m. there and it's 8 p.m. here.
I know. It's from the future. Okay, I'm going to do a quick little
intro. I'm laughing at you right now.
Hi, James. I'm going to do a quick little intro and then just ask you my whole list of questions that I have for you.
Deal. All right.
In a conversation. All right, so
let's do it.
For anyone that is tuning in, my name is Laura Martin. I am an quick fixer, binge everything in life, kind of go-to quick kind of gal. And it wasn't too long ago that I remember, going down this path of self-sabotaging escapism and just kind of moving through life far too quickly. And fast forward through many failed attempts and lessons learned, I now am here in a space of, balance and all this kind of security and embodiment that I feel. And so the whole point of Happy Hour is bringing on people that have really inspired me in their own journeys and really kind of opened up this pillar of different thinking, I guess is the right word of saying it. And so that's kind of what I want to bring to people here into Happy Hour, a different twist on it, because it's 8 a.m. Is to meet people exactly where they're at. So whether you have tried everything to heal your fitness, your anxiety, your IBS, any of that kind of stuff, and you're so at your wit's end, or you're someone that is just starting out, you want a different approach, and you're just looking to learn a bit more, you're in the freaking right place. So with that being said, I asked Macie to be here because she is someone that is just, she's a girl from Indiana that is now on a billboard in Chicago. Like, I don't know any other. But she's a dear friend, and she's my old roommate, and I've just seen this whole evolution in this embodiment. And she's always had this, confidence and balance about your life, and it's always inspired me. And so I wanted to dive deeper into that and learn more about it. And I know something that's near and dear to your heart is just this, my favorite post, one of my favorite posts of yours is you're sitting there and you're like, I didn't feel like posting anything recent. It's like you with your milkshake. And you're like, I didn't want my professional photo. And you're just in sweatpants, laying down on.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I freaking love you. But yeah, so introduce yourself to anyone that is tuning in that doesn't know you.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well with the from Indiana, live in Chicago, and I eat milkshakes, so. No, but yeah, that is essentially my life in a nutshell. I moved to Chicago. It's actually almost 7 years. It'll be 7 years next month, which is cool. So I moved here to dance, and that kind of has transformed into fitness and the health community and just kind of everything that I never would have imagined. But I'm so grateful for, and it's interesting to kind of see. And how I met you even before all of that, right? It was just dance was my life and movement was my life, and physicality and what that meant and how to take care of yourself is just what I grew up, really investing in. And so my mom is actually a trainer. And so I grew up always having this fitness component in my life and seeing it in my mom's life and kind of how she helped other women and specifically women, but people in general. And so that's kind of where I wanted to start to lean into. And yeah, I just reached out to some friends and I was like, hey, I think I want to, be a trainer or do something. And people just helped me along the way. And honestly, I sit back and look at my story and just the experiences. And I feel like there are so many awesome people like yourself, Laura, who have just kind of guided me and just, pushed me in the direction that I needed to go, which is awesome. So yeah, I am still dancing professionally in the city, and I'm also a group fitness trainer. So I train at a gym called Studio 3. So if you're in Chicago, you may have heard of us. Yeah, I think that's my spiel.
The spiel. So, like, starting out with health and wellness and your mom kind of doing it, did you feel like it was just implemented into your life, or was it something like she really harped on you, or did it come to you naturally? How was that whole journey in it?
I think kind of a combination of all the above. Like, movement was always important, and fitness, and for me, dancing, I mean, I trained so many hours that it wasn't like I had to get a workout in necessarily, but I think her influence, my parents' influence of just like their importance in their own lives of having like their movement patterns, whether it was like a workout or a walk or a run or whatever, in combination with the food we ate at home, and just like, I think they really set up a good, healthy lifestyle for us that kind of just allowed me to fall into that, and my siblings as well. I think we all played, I mean, my siblings played sports growing up, and that also kind of like fed into, you know, the fitness world and stuff like that. So I think a combination of the above, but definitely a heavy influence, and I'm super thankful for that from my family.
Yeah. And so how do you think that is, like, me thinking it's different? Because, like, I had that as well, because my mom was, like, basketball and stuff, right? But, like, I didn't grow up with a healthy balance. Like, so it's really interesting of how, like, was there they were like, oh, it's okay, you can have whatever, you can have your milkshakes and whatever have you, or like, was that kind of the mindset approach? Because there is actually like all the science behind like balance, and like we love the quick fixes, especially now when we're coming out of quarantine and stepping into summer. Like, God, the diet things and the summer shredders and all this kind of shit, like it's actual shit you're seeing on the internet.
Yeah.
Of like this quick fix, and you're like, yeah, of course you're gonna lose that weight and stuff and do that kind of stuff then, but like what's after that end game? And so we're like rushing to get to this point, but how do you actually make it sustainable? And do you think that was influenced from a younger age? You know, because like if I reflect on my own thing, I see like my dad's still to this day, he's on he just finished a fast like last week. I'm like, Dad, stop it.
Yeah, like, do you listen to anything that I talk about? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think when I look back, I think there was a really nice balance. My mom has a sweet tooth like I do, so I mean, there were always like little treats in the house, or maybe not in our house, but my grandparents, which they were kind of the enablers. Like, I mean, grandparents always do that, right? Like, they had all the treats, all the goodies when you go over to their house. So yeah, I think it was a balance of like, these foods are gonna fuel you, but then like these are, I don't know, I never felt like restricted, or I don't know, I never felt the pressure to like be on a diet or like drink a certain drink, or, you know, which I'm incredibly grateful for. I know a lot of people growing up, especially in the dance industry, or maybe people who had trainers as parents, like didn't have that experience. So I think my parents did a great job of that.
That's what's so unique to me about you, that like, because I don't know any dancer that doesn't have an eating disorder or a disordered relationship with, and I know that's very general, but it's like fact. I literally don't know a dancer that doesn't have a history with an eating disorder or body dysmorphia or feeling the needs to go in an extreme route with fitness, like after dancing or stuff like that. But like, you were always someone where you're like, I'm just gonna eat this fucking pizza and bagel. Like, I don't like. It was such an interesting mindset, because it's not something you really see. So like, how do you, like, what goes through your head kind of in those moments of like, I want this is pleasure, and like, because that's the part of longevity, right? Like, there's no, oh, there's this competition coming up, I need to hit this, I can only eat this. Look at this celery, isn't this appetizing? No, it's like. Right. All that kind of stuff, which you see. Like, I remember reading in college one time where it was like dancers were eating like soaked cotton balls, and I was like, what? Like,
it's wild. I don't know. I feel like, by the way, these are really great questions. Like, I'm like really diving into my like I have to think about them.
Good.
I think, I don't know what it was. I think I started dancing from a young age, and I think I always had an understanding of like my physicality, like me being in this body is intentional, right? And the way that it moves is intentional, and the way that it feels. And I don't know what that is. And I don't know where that came from. If that was like an external influence from someone in my life growing up, maybe it was. I mean, I had really great like mentors and dance teachers, and I owe a lot of that to them. Like a really healthy environment. And I think even now, like, I don't know. I'm like, I want to be a human. Like, I want to eat a little bit of dark chocolate every day. Like, I don't know. I feel like, and maybe it's because I was around people who were really restricted, or, you know, other dancer friends who felt the need to like cut things out, that I was just like, I don't know, that seems sad to me. And I feel like you're not enjoying your life. And I don't really want to do that. Like, if it means not eating a pizza or a piece of pizza for the sake of like a competition or something, I don't know. I just felt like the vanity of it, like, I just never felt that way. I was just kind of like, I don't really care.
Yeah. And so do you often see that around you? Like with like the dancing community one, do you see that often?
See the kind of like restricting of food and stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. Like, there are honestly people who I think have really healthy mindsets who are like not in that. And I think people who still have ties or like trauma from when they were growing up, or, you know, different experiences that have kind of like now just are living in them, that kind of like trigger moments where they feel like they have to, I mean, you probably hear this a lot. It's like, oh, I ate X, Y, and Z, so now I have to do X, Y, and Z movement wise, right? And it's like, that just crushes me. Like, you know, people go on holiday, or they like are at their families for Thanksgiving and come back into the studio or into the gym, and they're like, oh, I need to do whatever. And I'm just like, doesn't that make you sad? You know, like, I never know what to fully, like, I need a phrase to like say immediately, but I'm just kind of like, where does that come from? Probably, like, I mean, you probably know, diet culture and social media and whatever, but yeah, I think sadly I see it more than I would like to.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the root of like where this conversation is kind of heading, is how do you make it so it's body acceptance and like life acceptance of like, okay, fine, maybe you went on holiday and you drank more, you ate more, you did more, whatever, but you also can come back to reality without having to overextend yourself and exhaust yourself. It's like your body knows exactly at its core how to get back to its maintenance, right? Like, if you give it that opportunity to actually hear it and slow down and do all that kind of stuff, if you allow it that, like, something I love watching you do within your work is like, you have fun. Like, every bit of it you're doing, it's not like even when I would like wake up at 5 a.m. to do your fucking intense stupid shit, I was like, okay, fine, I'll do this. But it was because it was always so fun. It didn't feel like it was working or like I have to go work out. But I know so many people, especially those suffering with, you know, anxiety and depression and like stuff like that, like, it is hard to get to the gym. It's hard to move your body. So like, what would you say to speak on that? Like, how moving through that and moving your body out of joy as opposed to punishment?
Yeah, I think, man, it's a lot of things, but I think one thing that I really try to stress in my classes, in the studio, in any like students, if I'm ever teaching like dance things, is to really attach to how your body feels. Because I think, like you said, your body, it's so much smarter than we give it credit for, and it's so much stronger and more resilient. And I think like we're always distracted, right? If we are always putting crap in our bodies without thinking about how we're feeling, we're not going to acknowledge that we don't feel good, you know? And then like, when I do eat well, you know what I mean? So I think something that I try to get people in the mindset of, and what I try to preach in my philosophy and teaching really, is to just tap into how you feel. Like, every time I start a class, it's all right, similar to how you would start a yoga class. A lot of times it's all right, take a body scan. Where am I at today? How am I feeling? Did I just come out of quarantine? Have I not worked out in 4 months? Like, okay, now take the information and then work with what you have today, right? Every day is so different. And I think we just put this unrealistic pressure and expectations on what things are going to look like, and then we're disappointed, right? So I think, and that's kind of how I try to take every day, is like, all right, how do I feel? I'm tired, I'm not feeling great, whatever it is, okay, well then maybe I'm not going to work out today, or maybe it's going to look like this versus whatever, or maybe I'm going to cancel that coffee date because I like, you know. And I think there's so much, particularly in America, and you could probably speak to this too, of the like, you know, the busy culture and the like, I don't know, it's just distracting. I think if people just took the time to really think about how they feel, how you feel when you eat things, how you feel when you move, how do you feel when you wake up, and then use that information to guide what you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, I love that in theory. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I wish I could maintain that every single day, but, like, I am guilty of it. Like, when COVID happened, I did 17 events in April. I was like, I'm on it. I'm going, like, so stupid. And now I'm finally at that point, like, in my own health journey of, like, actually waking up and being like, what do I want to do? Like, today, what do I actually want to do? As opposed to the workout plan that I had, like, I was on, like, this, like, 8-week, I don't know if you know Sarah's Day, but I was like on her like 8-week.
Oh yeah, we've talked
plan. Yeah, I was on it. I was like, I did her like second ebook, and I was like, I'm in it, and my body is like, please slow down. Like, what are you doing? Please slow down. And I'm like, no. I've never completed an 8-week challenge. I gotta do it. And like, now I wake up, like all I've done today is I'm in this weird phase of like doing ecstatic dancing when I wake up. Like, because I'm never going to be this single again that I get to do weird shit in the morning that no one can see.
Listen, I still do that stuff, and I'm married, and James just deals with it, so you never know.
He's like, I chose that. I chose that one.
He's like, this is normal. I'm like, it's fine. I completely agree, though. Like, it's, honestly, it's a daily battle, and, like, sometimes we lose, and sometimes it's like, yeah, you fall in the habit of scheduling all the things and being so physically exhausted. This was me like 2 weeks ago, like jumping back into things when everything kind of opened back up. And I literally I was gone for almost 13 hours, came home, and I couldn't even, like, my legs were like, I need to be horizontal. Like, I needed to have my legs up. And I'm like, this isn't how I'm supposed to live this life. You know, like, I don't think this is what we're meant to do. I don't think this is what my body should be feeling, you know, and that was a battle that I lost. But I think, yeah, as long as we're trying to kind of make that progress, or at least shift into that mindset and catch when we shift out of it, then I think that's worth, you know, fighting for.
Do you think, were you always like that, or was it like something that came up for you during COVID of like, oh, this stillness, like this feels delicious?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, I feel like everybody has a lot of feelings about quarantine.
Yeah.
I rode a lot of emotional waves. Well, I'm also an introvert, so I think that has something to do with it. Like, being in my home isn't the worst case scenario. I mean, you know, James, my husband, is very extroverted, so I won't see other human beings was a lot for him. But I think, honestly, it made me check back in with the reality that even in quarantine, we had everything we needed, right? Like, we have connection with our loved ones, even if it's not like physically. We have like food and like shelter, you know what I mean? Like the very basic necessities that, yeah, it kind of stripped away all the BS a little bit, you know, and not to say that like hobbies and work and friends and those things like are that, but sometimes they can be, right? Like, I kind of took it as an opportunity to come back into like, all right, who am I? What is my foundation? Where have I been in the past few months? Like, where do I want to go? You know what I mean? And honestly, it lasted longer than I wanted it to. I think a lot of people felt that way. Like, gosh, in Chicago, we were in quarantine for almost 4 months. Like, not working in the studio and doing the virtual world. And gosh, it was frustrating a lot of times. But yeah, it kind of just, I firmly believe that things always have their purpose. Like, there's no coincidence, and even if we don't understand them, but I think there was no coincidence in me needing to like spend time and even quality time with my husband for 4 months, you know? So
yeah,
I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah, because I feel like even before quarantine, I haven't seen you obviously in 5 years. Well, I've seen you, but not lived with you.
Right.
but like you were kind of like you had a chill space about you. So maintaining that pre and post COVID kind of, that makes sense that that stayed in it. Did you feel the need to like rush coming out of it, like with the hype of everything? Like, I need to see people here, I need to go work out here, I need to do this there. Did you feel that, or did it kind of stay with you?
I feel like it kind of stuck with me. Like it almost re-solidified the things I think are really important in life and the way that I want to live my life. And I know that again, there will be days where I lose that battle, right? And I'll get swept up and I think I get really easily distracted. Like I get caught up in a lot of stuff. So I think it really took the opportunity away of being swept in things and just reestablishing what I want and where I'm at. And I feel like I'm always looking for the next thing. So I kind of anticipated that I would come out of quarantine and be like, all right, let me rewrite my 2020 goals. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to be the rest of the year? And I fought every urge to do that because that's kind of how I operate. And, you know, feeling like you like, quote unquote, like wasted time the past 4 months. And that's how my brain kind of operated for a while was challenging. But I don't think that I necessarily rush into things. The studio I teach at opened up, so I felt like my schedule got a little busier, but outside of that, I didn't take on any like unnecessary commitments right away. I don't know. I feel like I'm more protective of my time, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
now that I'm like used to having it.
You're like, my introverted side is very
Yeah.
comfortable right here.
I'm like, I'll go out and do a few things, but like I kind of like being at home and like being in my own world.
Same. Like I was, which is weird because on the personality test it says I'm extroverted. I'm like, you're wrong. Like that's not right.
Where do you gain? Do you gain energy from people, or do you gain energy from like being at home?
Both. Like I go. I mean, it depends. Like if I'm working, I fucking love like being in crowds and like doing my seminars, my workshops and stuff like that. But then I need to hide away for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Like 3 months. Just kidding. I just need to like go home. I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But it's something we get caught up in our mind and we love like, and I mean, you're just like that unique gem, I think. Like, but like it is so common that when we come out of, especially right now, like we have so much excess energy and like hype and like maybe we ate a little bit more during quarantine than we wanted because the fridge is right there, or we're just stress eating, or like we finally, like, I don't know about you, but carbs were super bad pre-quarantine. All of a sudden everyone's eating fucking pasta. Like,
Yeah.
like it's this one thing, and so they're like, oh, my body's a little bit different, but I have a lot more energy. That's weird. And it's like, oh, really? Do you now? Like, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
You can like go farther, do better. But like, I want to like I kind of want to touch on that, is like, how are people going to be moving forward into post quarantine, and how taking what you learned, like, oh, carbs are not bad, oh, you're not going to die if you ate cheese, like, oh, don't rush into your workouts, don't like do anything
Right.
like that, because that's how you sustain all this stuff, like
Yeah.
that's the scary part.
I think, I mean, you nailed it on the head. I think what my theory of what people have realized is, oh, the diet I was trying to have before quarantine is not realistic and it's not long term, right? Same thing with their workout plan. Doing 2 workouts a day every single day of the week is not going to happen long term. That's not realistic. That's not how my body should operate. I can't tell you how many people message me saying like, "Oh my gosh, my sleep is so much better," or like, I don't know. People used to, and still sometimes do, will like message me and apologize for like missing a class or a workout, and I'm like, please don't. Like, dude, I'm here. The workout's here tomorrow. Like, it's not. You know what I mean? There are so many more important things, and I think it's awesome to value movement, but if it's your life, if it's your like bloodline, and that's all you have to survive on, then it kind of crumbles. So I think a lot of people came head on with their unrealistic short-term diet and like fitness movement goals or mindset, right? Because they were like, all of a sudden my gym is closed and everybody's like up in a panic. And you're like, it's gonna be okay. Like, you're alive. We're gonna, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, I did that a little bit too. I think everybody did, of like, all right, my whole world seems to be crumbling. What do I have left? So yeah, I think it really hit people of all right, this was, I didn't realize it, but not great. Carbs are good, right? And like getting a few workouts in a week is going to be enough, and it's going to be all right. And you're still going to like operate pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, that's our coping, like, stress, right? Is like when the world is like slow down, we're like, I have to do more. Like, what do I do with my brain space? Like, I mean, I did that. I was doing 2 workouts a day, and then I ended up losing my period again, which took me 5 years to get back, and then I lost it again, and I was like, dude, you know what's up with your body. Why did you think that was a good idea? Like,
yeah.
What made you think, like, let me do this again and prepare like an athlete, when it's like,
Yeah.
sit on your couch and eat your freaking popcorn. Like,
dude, it's a trap okay. Though. It's a trap that I think is set up by society in a lot of ways, but we all fall into it. It's not just.
Well, it's a business at the end of the day, right? Like, you see all these people that are like on social media, and like they have their 6-packs, and not saying like 6-packs and stuff aren't good, but if you're getting them in not realistic ways, it's not sustainable. Like, that was the biggest wake-up call that I've had recently, because when I had my 6-pack, I mean, I had drugs in my life and I wasn't eating, and it was like I was 10% body fat. No woman should be 10% body fat. It's like insane. And you look at that, and I was like, you have that image in your head and you're comparing it to this old version. And like, I've had to vocalize several times to friends being like, I need all of these pictures deleted, because you like look at it and you're like, but no one in my family has ever been that size. Why do you think you should be that size? And when you were that size, you were miserable to be around. Yeah, like, you were bringing like smoothie jars with you to like gourmet dinners. Like, oh, I'm so satisfied with this fucking baby food. And you're like, you have to like pretend you like it, and you're like, no, I don't. Like, I don't want to weigh my food. I don't want to do anything like that. But it goes back to the root of what you said is mindfulness. Like, your body knows what's up. It knows when it needs to rest. It knows when it's hungry. It knows when it wants a donut, and it knows when it wants broccoli. But like, we drown it out so often because we're so hyper focused on what the other person's doing. Like,
bingo.
It blows my mind, and it scares me because I get caught up into it.
Yeah, the comparison game
all the time. Like, social
Instagram
media
doesn't help.
No, but at the same time, it's also insightful to see. It's just like having to check back in with yourself and being real and being like, oh, wait, I wasn't raised like this. This isn't reality. Let me check back in. So what are some things that you kind of do to help you check back in?
I mean, a big one for me was, oops. Are we back on now?
Are we back now?
We're back. A big one for me, to be honest, was going through my Instagram and like just unfollowing unnecessary people that were like, I don't know, a lot of like influencers, and I'm putting that in quotes, heavy quotes. People I felt like obligated to follow because, I don't know, they're like in my community in a sense and whatever, but I'm like, no, I don't think that what you're putting out there is good. I don't think anyone should see it. I don't want to see it, and I don't want to like, I don't know. I don't want to be involved. And so that was a big one. But I also think like the people around me, like, I think if all of a sudden my husband James was like, I don't know, he would just notice my behavior, right? He would notice my like shifts in patterns. And I mean, of course, and that's not to say like I'm going to shift always, right? Like there's some weeks where I like really want to work out more than usual, and some weeks where I just like don't feel like it. And that, you know, is kind of how that happens. But I think getting people around you who are willing to call you out too, because loving someone is saying like, hey, I noticed you're doing this, or you're not doing this. Like, is everything okay? You know? And I think that's important. Like, I can't tell you how many times, I mean, I've like seen it or been friends with people and like not had the courage to like say something or whatnot, and not really knowing like, even when we lived together, like how bad it really was for you, you know? Like and that is partially my fault in not saying like, hey, what's going on? You know, like confronting it and being like, let's chat. Tell me what's up. So it's tough. It's not, that's, people have eating disorders that are around you and you don't even know. It's like, yeah, how do you acknowledge that? I don't know.
And like have that conversation, because it really is, it's one of those things where it's like inviting that conversation, being like, hey, I noticed your energy shift, but like creating a safe space around it, so it doesn't feel like it's targeted or something like that. So it is coming from like a loving space at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What is it like, do you ever feel like, I mean, obviously that was a stupid question. I was like, do you ever feel the comparison game? Like, of course, Laura, everyone fucking does. But like, what happens like when you're in it? Because you have such a good balance between like health and wellness and stuff like that. Like, when that comes up, or when you feel a rut, and when like that kind of side of your brain steps in, how are you kind of navigating through that?
It's a great question. You're coming at me with all the good ones, Laura. I think I draw a lot of inspiration from women around me, and I specifically follow women on Instagram that motivate me in a good way, not in a I'm gonna like almost guilt you or shame you into like doing something kind of way. And it took me a long time to acknowledge that. Like, what's good inspiration and motivation and kind of like getting me moving in a positive way versus, yeah, making me feel bad about something. But I don't know, when I get in a rut about, like, let's say working out, for instance, I try to just switch up what I'm doing. Like, what do I, if I'm not feeling like being on a treadmill, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to go take like an interval, like treadmill class. I'm going to go do something else, or just take time off and then see how that feels. Or I don't know. I just think like they're like our fitness, our health, our wellness journey isn't linear, right? It's gonna be up and down. And I think once we accept that that's the reality, we're able to kind of go with the flow a lot more than expecting that, like, all right, I'm gonna be like on the up and up. I mean, if that was the case, we'd be like lifting hundreds of pounds and running all the miles, you know what I mean? Like, and eating perfect diets every day. Like, that's just not the reality. So again, I think it's a battle every day, but yeah, just try to find good people around you who can like point you in that direction.
Yeah, and just kind of highlight what you want to see in yourself some days. I think, like, I mean, they're essentially your mirrors. So if you're around people, I've had to make that conscious thing. Is like, I don't want to be around people that are talking about diet culture, because that used to be what it is. It's just like, oh, I ate this today, I did that. Oh, like too much, so I'm gonna skip here. And it was like, that was just like normal brunch conversation. But you don't realize that if you're having that conversation with, and maybe it's not the same person, but multiple different people, that's influencing your mindset every single day, and you don't really know what's going on. And that becomes so normal with people when they're on, like, I was so immersed here in like the fitness culture where like that was normal. We're taught like every single day it was like, oh, I'm doing this, and then I'm working out doing like this, but I'm not qualifying my 5K morning run as a workout. And like, we're not like, that's not actually sustainable unless you're a freaking athlete. Then high five to you, but like, majority of us freaking aren't. Like, and we don't need to do it. It needs to be movement out of love, and like something of celebration that you're excited about, and something that I work with clients on, because yes, movement is important. You need to move your body. It's meant to be celebrated and moved, but the difference is it should be celebrated. Right? Like, the movement that you're doing is supposed to feel good. And some days that's HIIT training and like whatever have you. Some days that's just like Pilates. Some days that's just sitting in child's pose being like, oh my God.
Dude,
like,
seriously, I think like, and that's, to be honest, I don't know, all that I want my like Instagram whatever to be is like, I'm a normal human being. We're all normal people. Like, why do we, I don't know. It's just, I've like so gotten to the point where I'm like the polished, like perfect, I have the best routine. But that's just not real life. Like, we know it. We know that there's things happening you're not posting on your Instagram, and it's like, that's where we live. That's where we are now, right? That's our generation. Like, there's so much that happens on social media, which it's great because we get to connect, right? I get to like follow up with my friends and see what they're doing. But I'm also like, there's a lot going on under the surface. And yeah, I don't always want to share like an ugly photo of myself, but like, I think if we can get into like normalizing that instead of, oh, I'm just gonna like always, I don't know. Sometimes I catch myself doing that, right? Like, oh, I have acne, so I'm gonna put this filter on. And it's like, but what am I telling someone else? Like, oh, I have perfect skin. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like that, I don't know, normalizing being a person.
It's so hard though, because at the same time, like, how much do you show? How much do you keep to yourself? And like,
Yeah.
especially as you are at the end of the day, if you have a personal brand, you are an influencer. Like,
Right.
What you're showing to the world, no one wants to see you in your swamps of sadness. Like, trust me, like, I'm there and I have a Kimmy K crying face and it's super, super sexy. Like, my own father has laughed at me in the middle of me crying because he's like, I'm sorry, it's just so ugly. Like,
Laura. No, but I think you're right. Like, how to find that balance, I have no idea. I mean, like, for dance projects, will sometimes get hired from my Instagram, and it's like, okay, well, it's a constant battle, right? Because you're exactly right. Like, in a sense, I am putting myself on this platform as a, like, hire me for things. I'm a professional. This is what I know about. This is what I do. But also, I don't know. I don't know what the magic like balance is, but I always kind of check in with myself of, you know, am I being real? Like, am I exaggerating? Am I like, I don't know, hiding parts of this that are important to share? Because that's also the other part. Like, I have a large part of my life that I would prefer to keep private. You know, it's like, James wants to be on Instagram every freaking day, but I'm like, he just wants to be Insta famous. He always tells me that. He's like, if I'm on your Instagram, you'll have more followers. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, fine. But
I'm still like, waiting for this like cooking show YouTube channel kind of thing.
See, and that's the thing is like, if we become like Sarah's Day and show every portion of our life, it's like, okay, well, what's ours? I don't know. It's a weird. Yeah. When you figure it out, let me know.
Well, no, I mean, like, I got stuck in that. That was a huge, huge pillar of like my 2019 therapy session. It was like living these two separate lives, because it was like Laura the health coach and doing all that good and glory and whatever, and like I wake up and just like rainbows come out of my ass, and then there's Laura who this, you know, and that's been the emergence of, you know, from over the last year. It's just been like, no, because yes, okay, you don't get to know every single thing about my life, but also like, I love to drink wine with friends. I love to eat pizza sometimes. Burgers are great. And like, these are the reality. We're like, yes, okay, as a health coach, we do want someone that is living within their means, but you want something that's practical as well.
Right.
Because like, I don't, yes, okay, I don't want to hire a trainer that is like super out of shape and like they're chugging a beer and like doing all that kind of stuff. Like, I would want a trainer that does actually do that, but I want them to drink a beer and calm down sometimes and make it okay that I do that on the weekends too.
Absolutely. Because again, that's normalizing. It's like, for some reason we've fallen, and it's probably because of like, you know, television and movies and magazines and whatever, everything we see is like this, what is like a perfect version of whatever. And it's like, we know that those people that's not real, you know? And I think in our industry, it's very prevalent. Like in the fitness industry, I look at people on Instagram and I'm like, I've seen you in real life, and like that, I don't know, like doesn't look like you, or like that doesn't sound like you, or I feel like you're pushing this like narrative that you feel you have to push for no reason. I don't know. It's interesting. I think Instagram makes us do weird things sometimes.
It's funny because as you're saying that, I've also seen the reverse. Maybe it's just here because I haven't been like in the health scene in America, but like here it's like I see a lot of tiny women with their tiny teeny bodies, and they're like taking photos being like, I eat french fries and cakes and all this kind of stuff. But then you see them out and I'm like, you took one bite. That doesn't count. Like, and I mean, granted, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but like, don't promote that on your page as well, because then you're also giving false, like what you're actually doing. It's like showing up and being like, this is what my actual life is. Like, hi, welcome. And that's why I do like Sarah's Day kind of stuff. She does show a lot of her life, and that's totally fine. I also think that's because, like, I realized, like, in my head, did you watch TLC growing up? Like the family and like
Kinda.
baby story stuff. Oh my god, I loved it. And I was like, that's why I binge watch all this stuff, because it's an insight into real life.
It is. It like makes you feel like you know that person. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I like that kind of stuff, but now I find myself like nitpicking. I'll like see these tiny like fitness people, and they do like what I eat in a day, and I like look at it and I'm like, there's no freaking way that's what you eat. And or I look at it and I'm like, you put something in a bowl, but you made it this thin in a big bowl, so it looks like it's a big portion, but that's probably as much as my like fetus eats. I don't have a fetus, but like if I did have one, that's what it would eat. But you know, like, but you don't see that. Or like, there's a big thing on TikTok right now where it's like what I ate in a day, and it's like 1,200 calories, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why aren't you hungry? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's these false things of like, this is what you need to do. Yes, okay, like if you're looking to lose weight and you're doing this stuff, that's great. Like you can have goals, but make sure it fits your lifestyle. Like don't try to adapt your lifestyle so much. Yes, you're gonna have to get a little bit uncomfortable for the new things, like eating more vegetables and moving your body, but it doesn't mean you have to start like cross training and ditching all the foods that you love and like missing out on birthday parties, especially now. Like a big thing I see with clients right now, or like during my discovery calls, is like, well, how do I enjoy like a barbecue? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like you pick up the plate,
Yeah.
you put some food on there, you eat the
you
food.
eat it. Right.
Get in
You
the
don't feel
pool.
bad about it. But it's like that person I can imagine is like getting misinformation, whether it's from their friends or like their Instagram. Like it's all lies in the end. Like, I mean, if we're gonna call a spade, like people are lying. It's like I certainly do not work out every day, and I will be the first person to tell you that. And I don't think my Instagram shows that, but like there are a lot of cases where I feel like that's all people post. That's all their stories are. Like, oh my gosh, work out this morning. And I'm like, I don't think I need to tell you that I worked out this, like if I feel really good about it, maybe, but like, I'm not going to do it every day because I don't think that's necessary. That doesn't make me like of value to you as a fitness professional, because that's the other part is like, okay, my Instagram says that I'm a trainer. So like I have to post a certain amount of like this content. And it's like, I say that I'm a trainer because that's who I am. That's what I do. It doesn't mean that I have to like post certain things like for validation of like my credentials. You know what I mean? Do you feel that way about like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm recently like into that space where it's like, okay, and I mean, I have like the content I have to post per day and whatever, but like it is now I'm trying to show more of what I actually eat and what I actually do, and like what my programs are, not based on, because I see how I compare myself to what other people are doing. Yeah. And I don't really want to project that onto other people. And I remember like my assistant, she now works remotely, but she used to like come to my house, and she thought she was like coming into the system and she was going to be seeing me like make all these gourmet meals and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, no. Like I literally sit here with like my meat up and like I like whip a quick salad together and then I like wolf it down and then I go back to work. And she's like, I don't know, like I just thought, and I was like, I don't have time to cook these meals that you see on Instagram. Like that's like one meal that I repurpose multiple times. Like it's just, and so I try and show that where it's just like a hodgepodge of like, I'm a busy lady and like I actually hate cooking, like except for pancakes. Like I love making pancakes, but like that's it. Like it's the only thing I enjoy. That's why I love smoothies, because I'm like, it's so quick. You throw all the nutrients you need in a smoothie, then you're done. Like
James like brought you up maybe yesterday. He was like, what's the stuff that Laura always puts like on top of her smoothies that like she has to like crack with her spoon? I was like,
it's so good.
I guess he watches them but doesn't read enough to like know what it is. I just thought it was really funny. It's like coconut butter with cacao and you put it on it and it's like that McDonald's dipped cone. Yeah. When it gets cold, so it gets hard when you drizzle it on top, and it's just so satisfying. Because I used to like my like binge kind of food used to be the McDonald's dipped cones. Like that was like if I was having a panic attack, I needed one. Like and I would walk my happy ass to go get one. And just be like, oh my god, that was so satisfying. But like, you can't do that. And like, as a kid, I loved that. Like,
I loved like the Hershey's hard cacao stuff
Oh
that you
yeah.
put on your ice cream.
Mhm.
That used to be my jam. And like that was my breakfast. I'm not kidding you. Like I used to put it in a ramekin and leave it in the fridge while I ate my A1 steak sauce. Like, Laura, what were you fucking eating?
Oh my gosh.
And then I would eat that after. And it was like 7 a.m. And so now I made it healthy.
Wild.
And
No.
I didn't stop the act. I just made it more acceptable.
Yeah, you're like, now I'm gonna change this. But I honestly, like, going back to longevity, that's kind of how it works, right? Like,
Exactly.
everything that I've seen, yourself included, of like people that I think do a really good job of making, like, you know, their cravings or like the things that they like want in their life, a healthy version of it. That's kind of how it is. It's like, let me have like a portion of this, or let me find a way to include it that's gonna not let me, you know, overindulge in this or like rely on it necessarily, which is what I would say sometimes people do with fitness and movement.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, that's exactly it. Like, I'm so happy we actually like got on this point. But it is. It's like there doesn't need to be the word no. It just needs to be like, can I level this up a little bit, or like, can I just have it as a side and not the main, and like add in this stuff? Because it. I mean, at the root of it all is the mindfulness of like, this actually happened to me on Sunday. I already had brunch with friends, and I already had like cheese and meat and all this kind of stuff and like some cocktails. And so I was like sitting there and I was like, I really want a burger, but like I know I have a lot of meetings on Monday and Tuesday. Will that burger make me feel like, will it help my brain be supercharged? And it's like, no, mate. Like you already just like did yourself under right now. You don't need a burger. And it's like, but you are going to dinner on Thursday and you can have it then. And like, it's just one of those things. It's not like, no, you cannot have it. It's just like, think a little bit, be a little bit more mindful of how this will kind of affect you. And it's never and that comes from knowing how food works for your body. Like it has nothing to do with the actual burger for me. It's like, honestly, the gluten that would affect my brain space because that's just what it freaking does, which is annoying. But that's because you take the time to learn about your body and what works. And it's the same thing with fitness. Like if you are waking up, and one of the workouts for Sarah's day was like literally like run 2.5 kilometers, then do this HIIT workout, then run 2.5. And I literally looked at it and I went, fuck no.
Pass. I'll pass.
It was literally the last one, and I did the whole, like, it was like week 16 Saturday, whatever, and I looked at it and I was like, no, I'm gonna do Pilates and then I'm gonna walk to therapy because I don't need that.
Because you don't need that. Yeah, I think like, man, that's, if we could normalize that, I think that would be great.
Because that's the mission.
That's exactly what it is. It's like, it's not a matter of restricting things, or like when I tell people that I eat chocolate every day, they're like, what? But you're a fitness professional. And I'm like, yeah, I still eat chocolate every single day, whether it's like a few chocolate chips or if I like eat a bunch of it. I don't know. Like, it's what I like to do. I enjoy it. I have to like make sure I'm not relying on it, right? Or like becoming addicted to sugar, because that can be very real too. But like, I don't like the narrative that says I can't have a little bit of what I want, or, you know, what you were saying of like, okay, maybe you can't have it like today, or maybe it's not the version you want it, and kind of like, not saying no to it, but finding, what is that going to look like that actually satisfies me and brings me joy. So I'm actually enjoying my day instead of having it ruined because you can't have this, can't have that.
Well, it comes from like the pleasure, and I think what we missed is like, okay, if I have too much pleasure, I'm gonna overdo it. But like at the end of the day, you look at like one of the books that I read was like How to Live Like a Persian or something. I don't know why I read this book, but I was like, yeah, maybe I just want to live in Paris. But it was like all about how it's the essence of pleasure in life. Like, will this bring me pleasure at the end of the day? And when you're really in tune with your body, you're able to, if I eat 18 cupcakes today, I'm probably not going to feel that great. Like, and if I want to eat 18 cupcakes, why do I want to eat that? Like, if you have that kind of like mindset and you're like, I can actually have like one or maybe three and like I'll be fine. And then I can carry on with my life and give myself pleasure. But like, are we spending enough space in of a pause to ask yourself, like, what do I actually need and what will give me pleasure? And why is pleasure such a bad thing? Like, why is it that we're emphasizing, like, I need to murder myself in the gym and I need to do, and it's like, why though? Like, that doesn't sound fun at all. You're not a Spartan. Like,
right. Like, who started that? I don't know. How did that become the thing that everybody thinks they have to do? I don't know. Like, I wish I could like find the stem of that, because I would probably just like punch that person in the face, because it's just caused so many people so much, I don't know, again, unrealistic expectation and then disappointment, because that will never be the reality. Like, I mean, I've seen people at like tell me they're at the peak of their like performance or peak of their like movement or health, or a lot of times it's like, oh, my body's never looked so good. It's like a physical thing, right? And it's like, okay, well, how are you feeling? Are you like sleeping? Are you, I don't know, spending time with your family? Like, something's always going to suffer, right? We make sacrifices in our life in general, but if all you're doing is working out, or if I'm seeing you in class twice a day, every single day, that's 2 hours you're spending with me that you could spend literally doing anything else. And I'm like, I don't think it's worth it. Like, I don't think it's worth it for you to spend 2 hours with me. I'd rather see you in the morning and then, or later in the day, whatever, and then like go and do your day. Because honestly, at the end of the day, like, are you going to look back at your time and be like, I'm so happy I worked out twice a day for this many days just to get the body I wanted for like a second, and then it went away, and then I was upset. It's such a terrible cycle.
Yeah, well, it's because we give too much validation to the external, right? And like, I realized it was such an issue when every time I went to a party, people had to call me and be like, so I'm at the grocery store, what should I get? And it's like, it's that much of an inconvenience. It's not just inconveniencing me, it's the people around me as well. Like, they're missing out on quality time. Like, they don't know what to feed you. They don't get to hang out with you because you're so busy running the rat race, or you miss out on all of these important moments because you're so caught up with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, when you're so caught up in health and fitness and all this kind of stuff, it's a very selfish thing. Not maliciously selfish, but it's freaking selfish, because you're just focused on, I need to do this, I need to bulk, I need to slim, I need to lean, I. Like, you're never just in the moment thinking of the presence of how, like, yeah, okay, like, it definitely feels good to move and shake and like celebrate this little thing that we got going on now. But like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just, the benefits of looking good are just like the bonus, right? Like, when you walk into a place and you don't feel like you have this weight that you need to hit these goals and all this, you feel heavy. Even though your body looks slim, your energy and the things around you, it feels freaking heavy.
Yeah. And it's just, the question in the end of it is like, is it worth it? Like, I would say no. Are you going to be able to sustain that for your life? No. So at some point, something's going to give. You're going to have to shift. Maybe you fall in an unhealthy pattern in the opposite direction. And it's like, I think there are those kind of stages where it's up and down, but it's really sad to see. You just reminded me, I was reading this article recently about like, someone asked like 3 fitness professionals, what do you do to be prepared for a photo shoot? And I'm laughing because I just think it's so stupid. Like, why is that an article? Why do you care what I do? I don't know. Sometimes I get a spray tan. Like, sometimes I just am pale and I deal with it. Like, pick out an outfit legitimately. And 2 of the people, I don't know, have like tons of followers on Instagram. They're like, whatever. And they both answered with these like specific, I don't know, this is what I eat, this is what I don't eat. I don't drink a lot of water so that my muscle can look whatever, right? And then my friend actually was the other, that's so funny, the other fitness professional they asked, and she was like, you know what, I just asked my husband if we can like not have a second dinner like the night before. And I was like, that is exactly what I wanted to hear, because that's real. She's like, sometimes we have like a, small dinner late at night and I didn't want to have it the night before. And I was like, okay, that's a normal person. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I can look at that and see that, but I'm imagining everyone else who looks at that and says, okay, I want to look like those 2 health professionals that like don't drink water so their muscle can look whatever. And I'm like, no, just maybe skip the extra dinner the night before so you like don't feel, I don't know, full. Like, it's so, but why are we writing articles about that? Why is that a question? Why is that like something we
It's
put in people's
entertainment.
heads?
I mean, that's the same thing as what I eat in a day, right? Like, you're just like,
Yeah.
but then I get stuck looking at them, and then I'm like, "Ugh, I'm hungry. Like, I'm hungry for you. Like, I'm gonna
Dude.
eat your snacks. Like, not in the way of food porn way. It's just like, I'm hungry still. I went through that day with you, and I'm hungry, and I need snacks.
Exactly. That's the only reason I watch those videos is because I'm like, yeah, you just made me realize I want to eat food, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah. I'm gonna go, and my food's gonna be full. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly.
So, what are some 3 actual tips do you think for people that people can take with them for moving forward out of quarantine into this summer shredder kind of phase? Like, what is something where they can actually create some longevity?
I love that word, by the way. Cool.
I know. I just wanted to say it like in that way too, like longevity.
Well, you waiting for that moment.
Yes.
I mean, I think like my number one is just don't get caught up in the false reality that people try to feed you. And a lot of times it's like people who are quote unquote professionals in whatever field that is. Like, find people who are real human beings and share real life and don't like shame you into things or like, I don't know, ask you for validation in like what they're saying either. So yeah, don't get caught up in what people say, to be honest. Like, gain, and again, like I follow a lot of people for inspiration, like for, you know, that like energy that I think people are like putting out, and that helps me, but almost take it with be cautious almost. And I think the second big one that we kind of touched on earlier was just actually listen to your body. Like, we get really caught in our head, and I think especially in the US, we're very heady. We're very like, I don't know, we think more than we like feel, or we like, I don't know, try to process things more than we just move our bodies, right? And I find that in so many different elements in life, but just actually acknowledge, okay, what am I putting in my body? How does it make me feel? If it's bad, just like acknowledge that, okay, that made me feel a certain way. If it's good, great. Then that's something I want to use to fuel myself. But same thing with movement. Like, again, when you walk into a class or a workout, like actually check in, not just, oh, Sarah's day had to run this. And like, you actually sat and you were like, I don't want to do that. And it's not a matter of like, I'm going to force and punish myself to do it. It's, okay, I do not want to do it, so I'm not, and I'm going to do something else. Yeah, acknowledge how your body feels. Don't feel pressure from people, because to be honest, other people are probably pressuring them. Isn't that the wild thing about it? Like,
100%. It's
yeah,
this cycle.
talking about it being cyclical. Like, someone who, let's say they're like posting their like 20-mile runs every day, which like obviously that's me being dramatic, but like they're catching from someone else posting, and it makes them feel like they need, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like that cycle, acknowledging like, cool, I'm glad you did that. I don't have to do that. Like, and that's okay. You can live your life. That probably won't be something that happens for a long time, but I don't know. Just the trap, man. Careful.
Get stuck in it. Okay, so we are about to get cut off. So I want to ask my last 3 questions, and then you can tell people where they can come find you. So,
okay.
What was my first question? Oh, what does happy mean to you?
Aw, that's such a cute question. I mean, happy just means like living my fullest life and my fullest self, when I'm like not, you know, cutting myself off or not acknowledging things that are happening, but yeah, living in the fullness of what I feel I'm created to be.
You do that very well. Aww. What are 3 words of advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh my gosh, Laura, we have like a minute and you're killing me. Okay. 3 words of advice I would give my youngest self. 3 words? Oh no, I have to think. Words are hard. Patience. I'm not a patient person. Patience. Acknowledge. Another word. I don't know. Motivate. I think that's my 3rd word.
Perfect. And then
Off the
one
top.
word to describe how you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling happy right now, Laura.
Yay.
I'm so happy we got to connect and
Me
talk.
too.
Genuinely, you and I could sit here for hours and talk about this, so
I know.
it's pretty funny.
So, shit, you have 9 seconds. Tell people where they can find you.
My name's Macie. Find me on Instagram.
Thanks for coming, honey.